Fresh satellite imagery has revealed what appears to be a full-scale, three-dimensional replica of a U.S. Navy warship at a Chinese military test range in the Xinjiang Desert, highlighting Beijing's continued efforts to refine anti-ship strike capabilities amid intensifying strategic competition with Washington. The newly identified target closely resembles an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, making it the latest addition to a series of U.S. naval mockups constructed by China at the Taklamakan Desert weapons testing complex. Over the past several years, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, has established multiple representations of U.S. naval vessels at the range, including at least 2 flat-profile Arleigh Burke destroyer targets and 2 aircraft carrier mockups. Unlike those earlier installations, however, the latest target features a three-dimensional structure, potentially providing a far more realistic representation for weapons testing and targeting exercises. The mockup was first identified by Taipei-based open-source intelligence analyst Joseph Wen, who examined satellite imagery captured on May 11th by U.S. spatial intelligence firm Vontor. The structure is located near an established rail network within the Xinjiang Missile Test Facility, a site previously associated with mobile maritime targets. According to Wen, the approximately 23-mile, 37 kilometers rail system enables simulated ships to be repositioned across the desert and may also support targets equipped with systems capable of reproducing the electronic signatures of actual U.S. warships. Such capabilities would allow the PLA to create increasingly realistic engagement scenarios, thereby strengthening the effectiveness of its anti-ship missile kill chain, including systems designed to counter high-value U.S. naval assets. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why is China so obsessed with Arleigh Burke destroyers. Before we proceed, a word on NordVPN, which is one of the most trusted and fastest VPN brand that has a no-log policy validated by Deloitte. NordVPN provides a 256-bit encrypted tunnel that protects your privacy and also enables you to access contents that are blocked based on geolocation. Its threat protection system helps you avoid phishing, scams, and malware. NordVPN application is available for all the major platforms as well as browsers. Get an exclusive NordVPN deal with massive saving by going to nordvpn.com/defense or clicking the link in the description. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer forms the backbone of the U.S. Navy's surface fleet. These warships routinely serve as escorts for aircraft carriers, provide layered air and missile defense, and conduct long-range precision strike missions. Most recently, they played a prominent role in operations during the conflict with Iran. The program has proven exceptionally successful, with about 75 ships currently in active service, making it one of the largest and most capable destroyer fleets in the world. A defining characteristic of the Arleigh Burke-class is its exceptional versatility. Designed as true multi-mission combatants, these destroyers are equipped to perform anti-air warfare, anti-submarine warfare, and anti-surface warfare simultaneously. This allows them to operate independently on global deployments or as integral components of carrier strike groups, expeditionary strike groups, and integrated missile defense networks. Equipped with the Aegis Combat System and a large vertical launch system, VLS, Arleigh Burke destroyers can seamlessly transition between offensive and defensive missions. They can intercept aircraft, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles, while also launching long-range land attack and anti-ship missiles against targets hundreds of miles away. The warships of this class put up major operational challenges for Beijing, compelling the Chinese military to assign large amount of resources to counter it. Let's check these one by one. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are the U.S. Navy's principal platforms for conducting freedom of navigation operations, FONOPs, in the South China Sea. These missions are intended to uphold international maritime law by challenging excessive maritime claims and reinforcing the principle of freedom of navigation under international law. As part of these operations, the destroyers routinely transit within 12 nautical miles of disputed maritime features, including Mischief Reef, the Paracel Islands, and Scarborough Shoal, without providing prior notification. By doing so, the United States rejects Beijing's domestic regulations that require foreign military vessels to obtain permission before entering waters China claims as its territorial sea. Warships such as USS Milius and USS John S. McCain have also challenged China's declaration of so-called straight baselines around dispersed island groups, a practice that Washington argues is inconsistent with international law because it attempts to convert large areas of international waters into internal sovereign waters. In addition, these destroyers have deliberately operated near low tide elevations, such as Mischief Reef, to reinforce the legal position that artificial islands and reclaimed features do not generate a territorial sea under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Through these deployments, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers serve not only as powerful combat platforms, but also as tangible instruments of U.S. maritime strategy, directly contesting China's expansive claims in the South China Sea. China and Taiwan are separated by the Taiwan Strait, a waterway roughly 100 miles, 160 kilometers wide. Any attempt by Beijing to achieve reunification through military force would require one of the largest amphibious operations in modern history, involving the movement of thousands of troops, armored vehicles, and logistical supplies across this narrow but heavily contested stretch of water. Should the United States choose to intervene militarily, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers would likely spearhead the initial naval response. Positioned within or around the second island chain, these highly capable warships would serve as the backbone of the U.S. Navy's forward defense. Rather than functioning as standalone combatants, they would integrate air, maritime, submarine, and space-based assets into a unified, network battle space, providing the command, sensing, and missile defense capabilities essential for joint operations. One of the greatest threats to U.S. carrier strike groups and allied naval forces would come from the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, PLARF, which fields anti-ship ballistic missiles such as the DF-21D and DF-26, along with emerging hypersonic weapons designed to overwhelm naval defenses. Arleigh Burke destroyers, equipped with the Aegis combat system and advanced interceptor missiles, would constitute the first line of defense against these high-volume missile attacks. If U.S. commanders decide to operate Arleigh Burkes inside the Taiwan Strait or the strategically important Bashi Channel, their mission would extend well beyond fleet protection. In such a scenario, the destroyers would play a central role in disrupting or destroying a PLA amphibious invasion force through long-range precision strikes, air defense operations, and coordinated engagements with submarines, aircraft, and other surface combatants. The undersea domain would be equally important. The Taiwan Strait and the waters east of Taiwan present a challenging acoustic environment characterized by shallow depths, complex seabed conditions, and variable thermal layers that can complicate submarine detection. Equipped with advanced sonar systems, embarked MH-60R helicopters, and anti-submarine weapons, Arleigh Burke destroyers would play a vital role in countering People's Liberation Army Navy, PLAN submarines attempting to threaten Allied surface forces or disrupt sea lines of communication. It is also worth noting that Destroyer Squadron 15, DESRON 15, headquartered in Japan under the U.S. 7th Fleet, operates 10 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, making it the largest forward-deployed destroyer squadron in the U.S. Navy. Its proximity to the Taiwan Strait enables a rapid response to any crisis in the Western Pacific. Given that the destroyer class has both the quality and quantity, it makes sense for China to examine ways to counter it. Recognizing the effectiveness of its integration of the Aegis combat system, multi-function phased array radars, and large-capacity vertical launch systems, VLS, America's primary East Asian allies, Japan and South Korea, have developed heavily localized variants. While both the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and the Republic of Korea Navy operate warships that mirror the structural layout and high-angle radar arrays of the Arleigh Burke, they have scaled up these platforms to fit distinct national strategic goals. Japan's deployment of Aegis combatants began as a direct response to regional ballistic missile threats. Rather than inventing a hull from scratch, Japanese shipbuilders like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries worked closely with the United States to adapt the original Arleigh Burke Flight 1 design. The resulting Kongo-class, Atago-class, and Maya-class destroyers are, in essence, highly customized derivatives of the Arleigh Burke. While incorporating indigenous sensors, weapons, and command systems, they preserve the same fundamental Aegis-based air and missile defense architecture. Viewers may note that recent comments by Japan's leadership has indicated that it won't sit quietly if Taiwan is attacked. South Korea's approach to the Arleigh Burke blueprint focuses on raw firepower and multi-domain independent deterrence. The Republic of Korea Navy expanded the Arleigh Burke flight to a hull form by roughly 10%, transitioning the destroyer class into what many defense analysts classify functionally as guided missile cruisers. Sejong the Great class and Jeongjo the Great class are basically beefed-up Burkes modified for South Korea's specific requirements. So in effect, investing in a robust kill chain against the Burke family of warships could simultaneously improve China's ability to counter the frontline surface combatants of three of its principal adversaries.